I am making bread maker bread today. It's not something I usually do, but this can also be done with 100% spelt bread. I'm using the regular bread maker recipe and it comes out beautifully and it's quick and easy. It's not sourdough, but it can be. I just like, my kids like how soft the crust is when it has a shorter bake time. Sourdough in the bread maker has to be on the longest setting, so it has time to work. And that makes a crustier crust, which, you know, kids, not a fan of. And while I'm at it in the kitchen, I will take you along on these bagels. I'll make probably about half plain, because Nora's been eating bagels a lot lately, and she likes them plain. And Leo likes poppy seeds, so I'll make a few poppy seed, and I'll make a few everything seasoning for Joe, my husband. So let's get started. Let's get the bagels shaped, and then they can rise while I'm getting the bread maker going. So these are 100% Spelt sourdough bagels. I use Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone's recipe. Her recipe uses regular flour. I use Spelt. Sometimes Spelt takes a little less liquid. Not always, it depends on the weather too. So let's get these out. These I mixed yesterday. It's summer, it's a hot week, so I mixed these quite late in the day. And then I actually put them in the refrigerator before I went to bed, because I think they would have exploded out of that bowl otherwise. And I did take them out this morning, probably 2 hours ago, to let them warm up. I'm making 8 bagels. I can shake these right from cold, and I will often. But today, I don't think they quite had a chance to ferment as much as I wanted, so I took them out a couple hours ago. But first, I will knead these into a little ball and let that rest while I do all of them. It is nap time here. It's a good time for me to get things done. I have one child at camp this week. So really, I'm just here with one, which is a lot less than 2. Okay, now that they've all been shaped, I will punch a hole. They'll shrink back a little bit, so I like to go a little bigger than I want in the end, and they'll puff up, shrinking that hole more. Some recipes will tell you to make like a snake, like roll this out and then connect it, but I just feel like it never really connects again, so I like to do it this way. I love using Spelt because it's not everywhere. We're not overexposed to it. It's a little different form of gluten, but not different enough that you can't do pretty much anything that you can do with regular wheat with Spelt, which is also nice to have that freedom. Okay, I'm rise until they are puffy, which again depends on the temperature of your kitchen, which mine is pretty warm today. And then a great indicator of whether they're ready or not is when you put the first one in the water. If it floats, that's perfect. If it doesn't float, I usually only boil that one and wait another half hour, hour or so before I try again. Okay, bread maker time. The mode I use takes about 3 hours. And I've been lately using this recipe that calls for banana as part of the liquid. The kids haven't said that they taste anything different, so it's kind of fun. We need 1/3 of a cup milk. With a bread maker, so you're just always putting your wet ingredients in the bottom and working up to the dry ingredients on the top so that the yeast stays dry in the beginning. So that's a good way that you can kind of make up your own recipes if you want. If you don't have the directions, just put all the wet stuff on the bottom and the dry stuff on top. Yeast comes last. I find bread, yeasted bread, not quick bread, I find yeasted bread to be very forgiving, whether it's sourdough or yeast, which is why I like it so much. Muffins and stuff like that, like you can make a wrong move and end up with a result you don't like. It's much more precise when you're dealing with the baking powder and the baking soda and the reactions of the acidic and the powders to get rise. When you have something working for you like yeast or sourdough, it does its thing. It's awesome. I love it. All right, so about 1/3 cup of banana, because I love baking, but I am not a precise person, so it's very possible to be a baker and not be precise. Just pick the right things to bake. So this is my white spelt flour. Now one trick, and I'm not doing this today, Nora's sleeping so I don't want to grind flour, but one trick with spelt is to do just a part of your spelt a whole grain, because whole grains absorb more water. So that's an easier way to convert a recipe that calls for regular wheat into a spelt recipe, because whole grains just need more water, and since spelt doesn't typically take up as much water, that will help you not need to make as many adjustments. And what I will do with this is just check it after it mixes and see how wet it is. And if I need to add more flour, I will. Not too much more flour, a couple tablespoons. You get into overflowing the bread maker with that. If you go too much, but you can do a little. If it ends up being kind of too wet, you know what, you don't have to move it around or touch it, so it's flexible in the bread maker. So that was 2 1/4 plus 2 tablespoons. Oops. Well, I need a little bit more than some of that. Like I said, it is not an exact science, thank God. Okay, so that's my flour. One and a half tablespoons of sugar. This is coconut sugar. That's for yeast to have something to eat. 1 teaspoon of salt. Actually, I try to keep the salt on the edges because salt is a yeast inhibitor, so I don't want to hit it with the salt right off the bat. 1 1/2 tablespoons of butter. I'm totally guessing on that. I use instant yeast and I keep it in the freezer. It stays good forever. We need 1 teaspoon. I made a well right in the middle of the flour. I'm adding the yeast to that. And that's it. So it's on the knead setting, and you can see it's crawling up the side because it's a little wet. I've seen it wetter. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of flour. Look at that, it pulls right down. Let's grate that. I do like to go in and clean up edges because it will, see there's flour over there, and just aesthetically it will have a ring of flour around it after it bakes. Side looks okay because it was hanging out over there. So I'm going to add just a little bit more. There, I think that's going to be good enough. Since Spelt is a wetter dough, it's kind of nice to do it in the bread maker because you don't have to handle it. It can just be wet. But that is a little smoother now, so I think we'll have better luck. Is it hot? Maybe. A little bit. I wouldn't touch it if I were you. All right, that is good to go. I've got 2.5 hours left. So here I'm just giving these bagels a little poke to see if they spring back. A dough that springs back, they say answers you back, is ready, and they did. So I am going to get ready to boil these. And boiling gives bagels that nice, shiny outer texture that they have. Actually, it's not just the boiling that does that, it's also what you add to the water, which you can see I did not do here. I forgot to add it before I started adding the bagels. So what you do need to add is a little bit of sugar, and that gets the nice browning on the bagel, and a little bit of baking soda, and that is what creates the shiny outside crust. Now, it does bubble up when you add these things, but when you add them without the bagels, it bubbles up a lot less. Like this was, I was like, whoa. And that one wasn't too bad because it didn't overflow. The next one is a little bit more exciting. And it does not happen if the bagels aren't already in there. The reaction is not as strong, but you do still want to be aware that it will bubble a little bit. I will boil these for 30 seconds to 1 minute on each side. And then I will take them out, put them on my baking sheet, and get ready for toppings. So what I'm doing here as I'm taking them out is kind of picking and choosing whether I'm taking them out right side up or upside down. Some of them I'm making plain, and those I'll put right on the sheet right side up. They're going to go right into the oven on this sheet as is. The ones that I want to top, I will put upside down and let them cool for a minute before I pick them up to dip them in the toppings. And putting them upside down keeps the top of the bagel a little bit wet so that the toppings will stick. And we do like to dip our toppings because we like a lot of them.